Kia ora e te whānau. Welcome to the Kupu Temple of the Blue Diamond. Today we're going to be doing an interview with the beautiful Sharna in Union Leard, and she is an initiatic arts therapist. And I'll just read a little bit about her bio, but yeah, we've befriended each other in the last few years, and I am just in awe of the magic that she's creating with all of her dragon work that she's doing and all of this collage piece that she has done an exhibition on recently, and also all the things that keep birthing from this beautiful young wahine. So I really feel to share her magic with the world. So here she is with a kaleidoscope of experience and passion for navigating the subconscious. Sharna uses the creative process to privilege the unconscious and guide others in reflective practice. Sharna is a qualified transpersonal art therapist since 2014. And then she took a deep dive into transformative art of bilateral drawing, also known as somatic art therapy. When her son was diagnosed with an electric heart disorder, Sharna made it her mission to cleanse the family karma and all the bloodlines and the whakapapa for insights and healing on specifics, exploring ancestral healing and generational trauma. On this path of interest, she encountered the fascinating Euro-Asian shaman Naomi Kennedy Smith and her cousin from Canada, embarking on a journey into dream alignment and a modern blend of geotran and NLP modalities designed to clear, accelerate, and anchor energetic codes into the electromagnetic field. Sharna's unique methods in quantum navigating have been recorded through her art making and will be sharing today with her story. And it's known as the story mat. The story mat was created with native berries, hand rubbed into cloth by a dear friend from New Zealand who sat with women elders in Uluru. Sharna has painted her learnings into the story mat with lemon juice, a medium for transformation, showing her insights to manifest and solidify in real time. As a known protagonist artist, Sharna is bravely traversing the less explored realm of self. She's dedicated to breaking down the stigma surrounding mental health and creativity in our collective culture, reminding us that we all make marks in life, each one a vital part of our own sacred story. So thank you, beautiful sister. Very interested in your sharing of your story, Matt, and what led you here. And yeah, love to hear from you, sis. Kia ora.
Thank you. It's interesting hearing the bio back. It makes me interested to know more too. It's like, that's a really interesting bio. So I might talk more, hearing the berries and how this mat was created, if we could start there, just because that's fresh. So Tanya Budd was the lady from New Zealand who I studied the bilateral drawing with and the transpersonal art therapy. She's the only one that continued into that somatic space. So when she had a dream, all the mat was made in Uluru with her traveling through, doing her work. And when she got back, she had a dream. So both these stories start with a dream, which is pretty cool. So she dreamt that she saw me wearing this mat as a cape. She said I had it on like a cape and it was surrounding me. And she said it felt like looking at a constellation. And because I had some grief in that at the time. So she bought this mat with a donation that all these women had, donated in to help support me through my grief. So when I got this mat, I had no clue. And it was so big. I was like, how do I even start something like this? But she had a dream, so it felt important. From there, I was talking to Naomi online, And we decided to meet up on the Matariki New Year in 2021. And we went to an art exhibition in the Gold Coast here in Brisbane. And we walked around, took in all the art, and then decided we'd go sit outside under a tree out the front of the library. And she told me that her cousin had a dream, who was in that bio, and her dream was that Naomi had to plant a lemon. So I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. I have a mat in my car that I need to start. Let's pull that out and we'll sit on it. And from that moment, we knew that we were planting a lemon together with this mat. So these dreams kind of weaved into my life. And from there, she then came to Brisbane to see me. And we took the mat out through the mud plains because I was living in a swampland. It was full of mangroves, and it's an environmentally protected area. It's a green zone. So we walked through and found a nice flat spot that had sand laid out the mat, and we first did a tracing around each other. But little did we know that lemon juice really attracts midges. So while we were tracing, we were getting bitten and like giving offerings of our blood to all these midges. And we're like, we've just got to sit there because the lemon juice takes a good 30 seconds to a minute to actually eat out so you can see the line. So we didn't know which parts had actually been drawn and which parts hadn't. So we were there for some time. And because she has foreign blood, it took her 3 weeks to heal the wounds of being bitten, just going through this process. So it was a time. It was a time. And from that moment, having the two of us, traced around in our bodies on the mat, I then came to realize that her cousin was the woman that 3 weeks prior I had just joined up to do dream alignment with. So I didn't know that they were even related. So it was meant to be. For me to do that kind of work took her to physically be here to keep me accountable, because there was probably a lot of times there that I would have just been like, I can't do this. I didn't believe in myself yet. I didn't, and the grief had caused a lot of self-worth, and I lost my career. There was a lot that had led up to that point. It was a big tower moment where I reached the top of my career and all these things, and then it all got, washed away. And this was the outcome of that and that unknown space. So yeah, that's how the mat came to be.
And I guess it's a vulnerable space too, isn't it? You sharing this because it's a very deeply personal time when you were in such deep grief, and like you think about the lemon juice, it's like it's the juicing, isn't it, of the life force being placed onto this mat and scribing your story of the ancient ones that have come through.
Yeah, literally. Yes. And it also represents the mud. Sometimes you can build a life, but if that's not authentic, even though it is in your capacity, we can have that. But when that's taken away, it's like, okay, I'm now in the mud. How do I build in a muddy space? And this is how. So this is a map that it's not just my story. This is a story map of quantum navigating and how to work in all these different realms and aspects to get out of the mud. So this is like a ladder out of the mud for people. And when you step on the mat, you can't get it wrong because you've got to stop somewhere. You just say, just stop where it feels right. That's all you've got to do. And that's where you start. And you just take a bite at a time, because lemon is sour, right? You're not going to drink a whole, you could scull it, but that's probably not. It's better to take one step at a time. Make it palatable. Yes.
So perhaps you would like to share with us a little bit about your map and, show us some pictures on it and the different processes involved in your own personal journey around it, if that feels right for you to share.
Yes. Well, there was 3 marks specifically that have been calling to me since yesterday. Since being initiated with the blue diamond, I put those marks down yesterday. So there was 3 other spaces that kind of called attention as I was putting that remembering in. So we'll start. Let me just take you around.
Process.
Camera around. Okay. So this is where I would like to start. So what is here? This is the hands that are praying. This is the asking the ancestors, like your own personal ancestors, what is the animal they work with or the plant medicine they work with. So this is where I started, with just tuning in to those 4 lines, you know, your mother, mother's mother, mother's father, father's mother, mother's father. So this is kind of that kind of thinking. And this moves through the eye of the needle. And we all know we're in this time collectively, right? The thread that's moving through this needle. And on this side, we've got the happy, healed, and whole ancestors. So the ones down your line that are what Naomi called 7 to 10. If you ask if they're a 7 to 10, if they are, they're happy, capable, whole, and ready to assist you. Where if they're 7 or under, they're a hungry ghost, right? They've got narratives and attachments and things that aren't necessarily whole and of divine order. They've got their own agendas because they want to exist. It's making my ear ring just talking about it.
Wow.
So this was me understanding which, like sometimes I had to go back 10,000 ancestors just to find one that would be an ambassador to heal that line. You know, I had a lot of under 7s when I tuned in and started doing this work. So this is where I like to start. And this is what also comes up the tail of the plumed serpent. Oh no, here's the other side. Sorry, this is the rainbow serpent. You can see. So that travels all around the outside from that moment of separating the 7 to 10s. Yeah. So that's one mark. Where would I like to go next? Actually, I'll come to the head of the snake. And then we'll come down to the heart. So this is the center. The turtle. And the turtle's looking down at this. And this is something that we experienced the other day when you took me on my initiation, Surya.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing how clear the lines are, considering it's just lemon juice you've used.
It is.
Amazing artwork, sister.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of marks here. And this is interesting because I didn't know what this space was until the other day. And this is how my art works. I make marks and then I come to understand what that mark meant as a bigger lesson. Yeah. Sometimes it's 3 years later, but anyway. But this is also coming back to here. You'll see there's a didgeridoo. There it is. And it's got the DNA. Wow. And that didgeridoo is coming into this space. And there's the taniwha.
Oh, yes.
Dragon.
Your kaitiaki.
Yes.
Guardian.
Yeah, and it sits on a throne.
And number 22, I love 22. That's the Magdalena code.
Yes, I've got 22 written on my body a lot in my markings. So yeah, so that's interesting that space is also coming from that separating the ancestral, the ancestral, whether they're happy, healed, and whole or hungry, right? Yeah.
Right. And the initiation that you just went through with the blue diamond, the woman there that's standing is, I'm just noticing she's got a big blue diamond around her throat. Is that kind of, yeah.
Yes, that is.
Oh,
that
wow.
is.
Yeah, and she's got a pyramid above her crown, or in her, sort of around here.
Her whole face.
Her face, yeah, that's right. It's like her whole face is a pyramid.
And down here, there's a little prawn. And he has a funny story because one night I slept next to Naomi and I dreamt that I was this little shrimp and I was on top of her energy field, just kind of shaking out these little drops of water inside a net. It's like I became this quantum computer code, and I was this little prawn, and I was like, you know. So I put that in there when these lines came, because I knew that I had some capacity. Like, this was learning my gifts, right? Once I had connected to my ancestors about, you know, do they work with plants or animals? This is the representation of the condensed crystalline version of what my gifts are.
Wow.
And integrating them. So yeah, I'll come up to the codes here, because these are the two I just put on with the initiation with the blue diamond.
Oh my goddess, sister, that's incredible. Yeah, I can see that dragon that's coming for you with in the blue diamond, huh?
It's two. So this was the white diamond, that was the name, and this one's the blue diamond, which I got given from Auntie Lauren here in Australia. She's from North Australia, but she gave me the word Jalbaru, which means water woman. So those two together, and it was just timely, because you can see how there's 3 dots on either side. And I'm like, those 3 dots make 2 diamonds.
Oh
That just
yeah.
felt so right. And on this side, this is where the plumed serpent is. So we'll follow him down to his tail, and we'll see what's down here. Here we go. We have a magnet. Yeah, so this side's more codes, as you can tell. This is the magnetic field. This is why this is when I was learning dream alignment and how to quantum code. So the reason the tap is here is this is the emotional release for the magnet. It's like everything fills up with like a water, you know, because water is dielectric. It is subtly dielectric. It is still is affected by a magnetic field. So you use 2, 3, 5, 3, 6, 5, 9, 2, and it's like you're turning your tap on and you just feel it leave your body. It's a quantum code.
Beautiful. You could just about do a whole wānanga around it, eh?
Totally.
Teaching around it.
Yeah. That's one of the most used for clearing, because you're not impacting on the electromagnetic field, you're just allowing it to release. So it's something that anyone can use, this one. So I'm happy to share that. And yeah, there's just codes everywhere on here with numbers, you can see, but this is the outline of me. But a funny fact, look at this face.
Oh.
When I saw it, I'm like, I look like Donald Trump.
Don't know if Donald Trump's got a turtleneck coming out of his throat.
I just thought that was hilarious. And this here is the ship that we went on with the blue diamond. The mothership in my throat.
I thought that was a turtle from my, perspective when I'm looking at it.
It is
but
turtle.
A ship, right?
It's like a ship. Yeah.
Yes.
And I felt uncomfortable until recently, because I've still never known what that is. I'm like, is it a mirror? Is it, but it is. It's the same integration of what's happening in the center. Yeah, so there's a little journey around the map. We'll do another one soon, and I'll see what section calls you, and we'll do a bit of a fun little journey.
Sounds
but
good.
They were the key ones that I needed to speak to, because that's in the energy of today.
I love your processes, and I love how you're sharing, and with anything that we create or make, and I know that this is probably true for you too, that when we never really do it just for ourselves, it doesn't feel like there's so many others that it speaks to when we create, when we're able to tap into those deep spaces that we don't even know we don't know, and allow the healing to take place for the many. And as a quantum navigator myself, I see that when we even having any kind of vulnerable, authentic moment, that be witnessed, and that be something that ripples out through time space and affects the whole collective and heals the whole collective on a certain frequency bandwidth. So I see that that's what's happening with the work that you have.
Yeah.
And so how do you I guess create in these moments? What is your driver to get you to create such depth?
Yeah, I was just thinking as you were saying that, I was talking to Naomi yesterday, just to have a yarn about all the experiences we've had in the last 3 years, because during this, Matt, meeting Naomi was about me being initiated into a 101-day initiation process through the Tree of Life. And I do have the right words written down here about, let's keep it down. Here it is, the 101-day process. So we spend a month in every realm of the Tree of Life, and we come together in an online container. But the first time around the tree, Naomi was physically living with me, hence the mat. The second time round, which I'm in the last month of doing it a second time round, it's been very different. But that first time, it was muddy. It was muddy. I had a lot of, interferences. I had so much interference. But how the creative process impacted is because I was paying Gab to learn dream alignment, I worked in the realms to pay that off. So the people that got attracted had the same. I think what we came to terms with is I had a magician in my heart. My masculine was so it would protect but suppress my gifts and my femininity and my capacity, I guess. So I termed it the Man Ray, Manuel Rudensky, because he was an artist that I followed in high school, and I was really curious as to how he would put objects in the camera, because we had a red room, like a proper dark room with the red light, to develop our own photos. And if you put objects in the lens, it will be black or white photos. So I just, for some reason, called him Man Ray, because he was like this big manta ray wizard that was always black and white, and he was like a real trickster. And he'd turn up, that frequency would turn up in other people when we needed to learn how to break a curse or dispel something, or, when there was a lot of weight, like all those hungry ghost related frequencies. But it would come up in people, and whatever the storyline was in them would activate the truth in me. So it's like every time I did that work, that it would just weave together these creative aspects of like concepts, I guess. Yeah. Now we know the next layer of how to break this down or break that down or change that, or, so it was inspiring at the same time. Like, you're creating and destroying at the same time. It was fascinating. And Naomi's like a library. She remembers every single entity and storyline and myth or fable related to everyone's journey, where I just kind of put a mark down and then I move on. So it's like they're like pieces of but in saying that wizard at the very beginning, when we identified him, I had a whole temple full of all these trinkets. Everything was gold, and like, it's like I was a collector of magical things, that masculine in me. But when we finally closed that portal to him, my whole heart space and inner world transformed. It's like no longer I could go to that place that felt safe. You know when you go on journeys into your heart and you kind of got this landscape? Do you have that?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's like that inner landscape that you've created in yourself, that all got flooded out. It was like another tower moment again, over and over and over. Then they're less consistent now because I've integrated so many things. But I remember the feeling of, like, I don't know how to exist without that frequency that manipulates me. Like, that was my identity. But I needed to be that masculine to protect my gifts. But now my gifts are integrating, and this was getting, it's like, which wolf do you feed? Both. Because if you don't feed one, it gets hungry and starts attacking you. It was that kind of a story. You just had to learn to do them both until I could completely integrate that forest of the unknown shadow.
Well,
It's
that would
taken,
have grown you up quite a bit, I would imagine,
yeah, the
coming into
last
that
3 years. Yeah,
deep
yeah,
space. Mm.
yeah. Hence now I am an ambassador
Kia
for
ora.
quantum navigating, right?
Exactly.
Been a lot
takes
of work.
takes a lot of skill, and it takes a lot of self development and self healing to get to this point. So, thank you for
Yeah.
the work that you've done.
Yeah, and to also all those people that were attracted to us to even do that kind of work with them. Because, I don't know if you've heard of this over in New Zealand, but in Australia, there's a modality called holographic kinetics, which is very Indigenous. And I respect all elders, past, present, and future, talking about this. I haven't been trained in it myself, but I have the ability to be a surrogate. So I have attracted a few Indigenous people and others who have done that training with Indigenous people here, because I am just so able to surrogate other people's spirits and do the work, because I can work in the mud, I can work in the abyss, I can work in these deeper places where normally people can't see, So it was interesting to have that capacity to meet people and assist them to get paid to integrate the lessons and create the art. It all just, weaved in together.
I have heard of holographic kinetics. I actually researched them recently as well. Not recently, it was probably maybe a couple of years ago. I got a ping on it and I was like, "Ooh, there's something really big's happening here. I need to have a look at this." And it was very fascinating. So I am still interested in delving, but it's a teaching that you can only really do face to face. And there's only one place you can go for that, and
Yeah,
that's Te Whenua
yeah,
o Te Moemoeā, the land
yeah.
of the dream time. So yeah, we're definitely working with that medicine. And honey, tell me a little bit about the two serpents you have on your mat and
Mhm.
how they feature for you.
So I think I've only come to understand why they're both here since that initiation, because my experience when I was in the Blue Temple was that the rainbow serpent obviously moves along the land, where the plumed serpent is etheric. The plumed serpent isn't on the physical ground. So when I was in that Blue Temple and they both came together and all these spirits turned up, it was like a celebration of finally, like the etheric time and the rainbow serpent, like time didn't exist anymore. It was like, yes, that chamber allowed the magic to reconnect to the earth, you know?
Wow.
And everyone was just celebrating. But the funny thing is, how it felt is when they came together, the snake became a stiff vertical. And everyone's spines, like every spirit was in there, had one. It's like the two came together and now everyone's spines were like these really straight white serpents that had that rainbow iridescence, that real soft rainbowness that the light would, but they were very like an albino white snake, and it was very straight. Like they can't move. They can't
Oh,
slither
they
when
got
it's
they got hard-ons.
yes, pretty much. Or just walking, living hard-ons when you activated that. But again, like you said, that wasn't just for me. It was like everyone was celebrating that I've got to this point to
Mm.
integrate this and speak to it so that everyone remembers. It's like that flower of life we were talking about. And I did some research, and there's the flower of life that uses the Fibonacci,
Yeah.
but that eventually depletes in energy and moves into a death state. Where then there's the one that has this other mathematical formula that it's like this. It's like a heartbeat, and it will just keep
Yes.
doing this. And I feel like that's what that experience was. Again, it's the moving away from those inversions, those things that we need to dispel, the hungry ghosts, and back into truth.
Kia ora.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, I have also heard about the daisy of death, and then there's the real true flower of life, which is the kinetic version,
Mm.
and that's the one that we're working with, the one that expands. But not only does it expand outwards this way, it expands in every way. It expands through its negative space more potently than it does in its visible space. So the
Yeah.
negative space, it actually is basically becomes a huge big black hole of
Hmm.
creation. So,
Hmm.
it's an infinite space. And
Yes.
yeah,
That has me on the trail of thought for a mark. Shall we go back to the story match for a moment?
yeah, sure.
This was another one that came up, and I've got some paper on it still because I wanted to show you how recent it was that I just. So this here,
Mm,
you've seen this symbol before,
I have, yes.
other than on the Oreo biscuit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this symbol came up in the Chinese sound healing, in which this is where my recent work is. And what I learnt last night before I did the mark is that sulfur, this is the symbol for sulfur. And sulfur has its own magnetic field. So it will interrupt the collective magnetic field because it creates its own. It's dielectric. So I
Mm,
thought that was really interesting. Again, talking about the two different flower of lives, right?
yeah.
Because if that's creating its own magnetic field, it must be dielectric, meaning it has an inner magnetic field. It is expanding in as much as out, hence that pulsing. So I thought that was
Mm.
interesting because this tree here is the tree of life, and it's like the hero's journey when we go into the underworld. So this was what I learned with Naomi. We did lots of different drum journeys in the Euro-Asian shamanism side of things, because it's a 13th house mystery school in Canada that has taught Naomi, and Naomi's come here to work on her grief for the Anarchist archive. So us meeting is documented, all our art is documented in the archives in Canada. So this is one of the things she taught me. Where you travel into the underworld, you've got your golden satchel, you fill it up with your gifts, and then you come back, your tree of life, and integrate it. So it's working with the tree in the etheric world, not the middle world. Middle world's a bit more dangerous. Going to trees, you're not going to, it's not so impactful on your physical. So this tree is what I've recently learned, the tree of shadows or the tree of death.
Mm.
Not many people are familiar with this unless you go into dark arts, where I don't go into dark arts. I just use my happy, healed, and whole ancestors to show me what I need to know to integrate. So the little lamp here represents our gifts, our medicine. You know how you rub on it? Someone always rubs on your lamp and you come out and grant them gifts. It's that,
Yeah, the genie
no,
pops out.
I am a free genie. I don't need someone to have a collar around me. But
Love.
you do when you're in this space, right? Because it's shadow. We
Yeah.
haven't accepted things, hence the apple, right? It's the knowledge. And here's the little inner child, those parts in our development that have brought the shadow on. But there's a little door that leads into this space, the masculine, the divine masculine and divine feminine. Hence, I've got 1 + 1 = 3, because there's the parents and the child.
That's true.
There's mum, dad, and hang on, there's now a third person. 1 and 1 does = 3 in this teaching.
Yes.
You're right, because it creates its own diamagnetic field, because it is all that shadow content and developmental stuff that parents bring us through all gets caught in the forest, right?
Mm.
Yeah, and then we have to go into the underworld to get these pieces back. And it's this journey. So yeah, that was a nice little integration of recent.
That's beautiful, sister. Yes, we do. We have to integrate all parts, the shadow and the light. Too many
Yeah.
people spiritually bypass the shadow. They just
Yes,
want to
they
go
do.
straight for the light, and they don't want to face any of their foibles, their faults, their generational traumas even, But
Yeah.
I love that you have been able to do that through your art and through your unique expression and lens.
And that's because of what you just said. My passion is, once I've learned it, share it, because I didn't know how to do this 3 years ago. I had no idea. Like, I'd done lots of shadow work, but you can only get as far as the map you've got. And if people aren't showing you how do you discover it? You know, you read a book or whatever, like you have cryptomancy that, you know, your happy, healed, and whole ancestors are trying to show you, but the interference is sometimes more stronger. So
Yeah.
even trying to find your way out is tricky. Hence, I marked every step of my way so I didn't forget. And I got tattoos
Wow.
on my arms so I don't forget that I've done this work and it needs to be integrated because I'm aware of how interference works. And it's the cloud's there.
Yeah, and the greatest interference that I'm seeing being played out now is the shadow ego.
Yeah.
You know, that is
Yeah.
so rife in people. Oof.
Yeah.
And you know, it's still blaming and shaming others, and it's still not really taking responsibility for
Yeah. And
one's
it's
own.
victimizing itself. It plays the victim. It's happening a lot. And yeah. But again, what I'm learning is it's okay to judge those frequencies, especially when you're leveling up, you know, and you're integrating things and you're doing the work. But then you start, you know, judging other people for not evolving like you, and because it hurts and all that stuff. So I really had to learn the difference between judging, which is out of compassion and just inner standing, and then condemning them. You can't
Yeah.
condemn someone. So that's the separation I'm going through right now, because, you know, I like to think we can all do the divine compassionate action thing, that sometimes.
Oh, I love that. I love that you've said that because that is so true. You know, we do have to be compassionate to each other, especially when we're witnessing and we've become somehow enmeshed in
Mm-hmm.
someone's process,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
therefore, you know, we are involved on a deeper level. So being able to have that compassion and to acknowledge their own learning and actually ours as well, because you know we're always going to be involved in someone's healing process just because there's really only one of us here. You know, you really, really dig into the depths of it all.
Yeah.
And, you know, we are both shadow light,
Mm-hmm.
demon and angel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we, you know, we depending on where we're at, will yeah, be the outcome of and support people. And yeah, I think so long as we're here as part of the solution and we're here
Yeah.
to do the healing on a collective level and not so much focus on the little I, but the big I,
Yeah.
you know, and they go through that the big eye of the needle and the big eye of the taniwha together as, you know, as we continue to evolve, that is, I guess that is the gift.
That is.
Yeah.
And I feel also understanding that some people need these stories like they need breath, you know, and
Yeah.
I've been there. That's what that tower moment was for me. All these things that, you know, being at the top of my career of mental health, and this is all who I am left. So I had to learn, you know, that those stories I relied on. So I have to be compassionate to someone who's using that story to exist, you know, because
Mm.
I know what it feels like to not have that story and how hard it is to face that. It took me 3 years and I'm still integrating parts. So who am I to condemn someone that's just
Yeah.
trying to exist?
Yeah, exactly. And people do identify their job or their role as a parent or whatever as the main focus on, and that is who they identify themselves as, and there's nothing more beyond that. They can't see the wood
Mm-hmm.
through the trees.
Mm-hmm.
So it's yeah, to be able to drop it and really get to know thyself as you have and be able to story tell, because this is a journey of your story, but the collective story as well. So I
Yeah.
love that you're able to share that in that way.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I do have a map that I would like to share. Let me find this one. This is what I put in the exhibition when I had the pictures of the Waka, like what's behind you, and the blue diamond map.
And thank you for doing that. What a gift, to
Oh, it was
bring
wonderful.
this, this piece of art and take it to Australia and have it there at or Te When, in the Te Whenua or Te Moimoia and anchor the blue diamond. And you also had the Hini Aotea, the picture of
Yeah,
Hini Aotea as well, which I
I
mean,
had all three.
that is incredible. Thank you so much, sister.
No, it was well needed because, there was the main people that came were elders and Indigenous people and people that were interested in the blue diamond. So having something there, even though I didn't have the right wording for what it was about, because we were still not even aware of the white diamond yet, were we, at
No.
that stage? So
Yeah. Oh, we were, but it didn't really fully birth until after
yeah,
we'd completed our journey.
yeah. So in that space, this was the map that I was using to explain the knowledge, as well as the painting I had done, which was similar with the same 13 gate creatrix medicine wheel of the heart. You see this?
Oh.
And then we've got this one. Can you see that? Or is that a shadow?
No.
It's a bit hard to see. Come on, that one's a bit light.
Shiny.
It's so shiny.
It's shining like a diamond.
There we go. That's a bit easier to see.
Oh,
So
wow.
this here at the very bottom of the red is this. So this is the map I've been getting from a woman called Shelley, Chakra Shelley. She is on Gaia, lovegrowsgaia.com. For anyone who wants to have a look, I highly recommend her work. She has given her source code to the everything, to the abyss, and people understanding their ancient technology. So these are maps that come along with what all the work you're doing, Taria. So this is all your different, dimensions of self, and all these orbs is called our soul cord. And this is us remembering our 144,000, right?
Wow.
So we're very big. We're
Mm.
very, very big. And what she talks about is if we keep focusing on building our vibration and getting to, activating all our ET bodies and all that sort of stuff, we're not dealing with the abyss. Because the higher your frequency, the less capacity you have to drop your matter down to let go of these stories like we were just talking about. It's all about working with this tech here, your first and second dimension. That's where most of the interference is. Right? And what they do, the cabal or the inversion, they've flipped that. Right? So it sits horizontal so that we can't drop our matter. We're on the checkerboard, we're on the black and white board. Yeah? We all know these symbolisms, but when we flick it this way and we start allowing, because this here is just our skin color. And then our choices, are we in aversion or are we in truth? The flower of life. These are the two different flowers of life. And that pumps through our everything, right? I think that is the biggest lesson I've been experiencing with the blue diamond is understanding how to come back to ancient technology, especially because I'm studying blockchain and AI. And everything I'm learning in that is come back to ancient technology. Don't even, God, this AI, it's great for removing the middleman in the business world and those intermediaries, but that's about it. So we can go have fun and run our businesses at the same time. Thank you, AI. But let's bring it back to the understanding of the abyss, because I do feel that that is where Takuti went to. And he brought this AI up. And this is the map. So this is the blue diamond. This is that ancient technology.
Well, we
Would
are
you agree?
whenever I think about our light ship, I only ever see it as a surfboard. And I'm just looking at that image there and seeing a surfboard and seeing that we are surfing these currents, it's quantum navigating these beautiful, vibrant plasma currents that have come in for us so powerfully at this time. And that, these are the blue diamond starships, our own body technology, our ancient technology, as you say.
Yes.
Kia
Yeah.
ora.
So finding maps to get that, this, it's very new. And what Shelley says is this info has actually never existed in our evolution. We've never really understood how big we go,
Yeah.
but also how to use that surfboard. It's actually never even activated in our DNA until now.
Kia
So
ora.
so yeah, we no need to shame ourselves for not being there yet, because none of us
And
have.
that's what a lot of people can't understand as well, or they can't understand because they've been so programmed by the colonized mind, the colonized soul, really. I feel that, so many people have got blocks and chains, like literally that's, you're using that word in a positive way, but yet it's like, it's also just like the flower of life, there's the two parts. This one is the diametric opposite. It's the one that keeps us stuck and
Yes.
keeps us in our own prison cell,
Mm-hmm.
the shadow ego, that
Yeah,
stops us from being able to transcend our
definitely.
unlimited potential. And that's what
Yeah.
the blue diamond was all about as well, is,
Yeah.
being able to activate the sacred magician.
Mm-hmm.
So he could, the tumatauranga, be able to weave whatever needed to be weaved and continue to climb that Jacob's ladder all the way up, that 144,000 rungs all
Mm-hmm.
the way
Mm-hmm.
to infinity.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And if you imagine all those orbs, sometimes those orbs have been knocked off and it's inverted. So it's really just about, discerning. And I guess it's what I found hard with this part, because I'm still learning this part, is I don't understand enough about the galactic side of things yet. But then I also get told a lot by certain New Zealand women in here in Australia, it's like, oh, be careful of that galactic stuff, it's not accepted so much in our culture and in New Zealand, and it's just so different. And that's kind of the narrative I've been hearing. It's like, oh, it's okay to do the massage and the body work, but when you get into galactic stuff, oh, it's a bit. And I'm like, okay, but I'm like,
Yeah, well, it depends on which circles you roll in, honey. Yeah,
it would be, and
because
that's like,
yeah, we have to go quantum. We definitely are not the only, we're not the only beings in this cosmos. I mean, that is just so arrogant to think that's really the truth.
yeah,
We need to be able to attune to the civilization that we came from. We are all star seeded, and therefore it's our responsibility to open our soul, not just our mind, but our soul, to be able to
record.
receive all of the quantum collective DNA that we are actually assigned.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
so that'll be my next art piece. As I get to know these orbs and work out which ones have stories to them, for them to invert themselves, which ones have fallen off the way line. But when they fall out, they fall into another person or a plant or an animal. They're those things, they're kind of like the soul flame. It is your soul, and you got to get these parts back. What do they call that? Soul retrievals. They're parts of
Yes.
us that have fallen out and marbled into the world because of the inversions in our. So it is a matter of being curious, get out there, have that intention to find that soul part. It will attract. And that's why I've met you. And
Yoda,
right?
absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
a few years back, I never thought that I would ever be this lateral minded. I always kind of felt fairly conservative. I was even, like grew up in religion, quite severe religion. Both of my grandfathers were priests on, different religions. So there was competition and tensions going on in those areas. But I knew that was definitely not the way to go, because it was far too limited, But I also believe that, when they talk about the spiritual world, we're also talking about the galactic world, because I
Mm-hmm.
see that as this, the angels as perhaps also aliens, like things that we don't really necessarily can see or, like feel and touch, but they're things that we know to be true because we have these anomalies that happen in our lives and these portals that open up and, magic happens. So, yeah.
In my framework, we call that a transpersonal experience. And that's what I'm trained in originally, transpersonal art therapy, which is anything beyond normal. Anything beyond normal. And I feel that's all that alien stuff is. It's just not part of our normal yet. It's not integrated into our soul cord. We don't have our song line, like you said, connecting with those, I don't know, they kind of, I have heard a star once when I was on the trampoline with my son, and I saw the ship that was like this teardrop, but I just thought, oh, I can't tell my son I'm seeing an alien right now in the backyard. Like, he's going to go to school and talk about mum, So I'm just like, And when I had that thought, I heard a tinkle in my ear, like this star would sound like, and I'm like, whoa, I don't share that story, but here we are being vulnerable. But that experience was all I needed to know that it's safe to tune into that or want to understand it a bit more or work with it.
Yara,
Just
exactly.
another,
and I've had quite a few contact experiences myself, so I know that they're reaching out to us, they're wanting to commune with us, and it's just a different level of consciousness when we continue to expand up that ladder, up those rungs of this chakras all the way up, which are mini suns, like when you think about the infinite suns that, we attune to, we only representing in our physical bodies the 7 suns, but of course, we've got multiple bodies and, anamorphic bodies and plant bodies and rock bodies and crystalline bodies, all of them. So
and lots of different avatars
and galactic bodies.
And that's what Shelley talks about. But she also is great because she's like one of those mothers that has no tolerance left. It's either you do the right thing or you just get locked in the black cube. Your soul is not actually even worth composing. The mushrooms don't even want to eat you anymore. Like you're gone. And that goes for, and I'll speak to it, the pedophiles, the cleaning the swamp, the vampires, like those kind of entities that have come here, which aren't from up here, they're from down here. They've come through the abyss, they've made contracts with the primordial and has now, like anything, any child, it needs to be fed, it needs to exist, right? So we can show compassion to that. But those kind of frequencies, it's no more. It's no more. So if we don't make these choices now to find these parts and awaken ourselves, there is a warning. It is time. Like you said, that's why you're like, it's time to show up, people. Like, get curious about yourself.
Kia ora. Into our roles as ambassadors, definitely. So it's nearly time, honey, to close the space. And in our final closure, any final words that you'd like to share with us? And how can people get a hold of you as well? So great.
Okay. On that note of needing to show up, the Blue Diamond is coming to Mount Sampson in Australia, Queensland, on the March equinox, the 21st, 22nd, 23rd of March. And I'm going to send some links through after this so that you can get in contact at www.kupidabin.com. That's Kupidabin. Kupidabin stands for Place of Possums. It is a place for preserving cultural medicine, cultural ceremony of all cultures. Like, it's the places of 4 winds. So we do a lot of preservation work. We're not a mystery school or anything. We're just a place of learning and sharing and educating. The land is a meeting place, always has been, for our Indigenous to travel through. And we do have a bunya tree. So you'll notice that the meeting, like, people would travel this route to come and trade and make it to the bunya festival. So that was all, our Indigenous would come to this one place. So it is a pathway, and it's not necessarily, I don't want to say the word owned, but I will, just because it's easy to say that, by any particular clan or tribe. it was a neutral place where people would know if they looked at the bunya tree, they looked at the next one and the next one, and they would avoid, you know, that type of, yeah, process. So it's a beautiful place, and we're restoring its true story. And as are we. So it's metaphoric that I've ended up at Cooper Darwin. Yeah, so if you're interested in getting involved and coming along to Blue Temple being activated and anchored here at our beautiful Mount Samson, get in contact.
Very much looking forward to participating in that, sister. Yeah, that's going to be amazing. And this will be also anchoring the path of Rongomarairoa, bringing it to our first nations point, the Te Whenua o Te Moimoia, land of the dream time. And there's a lot of codes to be anchored and, yeah, activated from that point. So that'll be the first trail opened for the Rongomarairoa. So exciting. And thank you so much for showing up for this interview and sharing your powerful story, your story, Matt, and all the things that have actually assisted in breaking open the paradigm that exists in through your art to help the healing of humanity.
Yeah, I come with education. I find that that's the best way. It's the best way.
Yeah, kia ora, and your beautiful stories. So thank you so much, whānau. If you need to get in touch with our beautiful Sharna, I'll put the link of the Kupi Darwin Sanctuary below, and Sharna's also on Facebook and Messenger, and yeah, if anybody wants to reach out, that would be awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ka kite anō.